friends. Welcome to the Creative Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Caldwell, and I'm so happy you're here. Each episode, I take some time to chat with fellow artists about life, faith, and the impact of the arts.
Being ready for the opportunity. Success is rarely just about someone winning the lottery, and most people that do end up going broke.
Right.
So it's about where preparation meets opportunity. So whether that opportunity has come along for anybody, I can't say. I can't say if it's the right moment right now to jump off and do it, but I can say any moment is the moment to start preparing for it. And so taking that time now, whether it's whatever that means, but starting to get stuff in order, start to practice, starting to do that will really be a positive step in the right direction. So that when you see when the opportunity comes along, one, you'll even recognize it. And then two, you'll be empowered to take it as well.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be with you again today, and I cannot believe we're already in the last full week of October. So as we wrap up this month, we are also wrapping up our Entrepreneurship and Pursuing a Vision mini-series. If you're just now joining us, throughout the month of October, we've been focusing on conversations with artists and entrepreneurs who are at different stages of bringing a God-given dream to life. Today, in our fourth and final part of the mini-series, I am so grateful to wrap up with my brother-in-law, Zach Piñones. Zach brings so much wisdom in this conversation as he shares about how he and his wife, Alisa, my sister-in-law, took a leap of faith to start their business, Create Construction Management. Zach brings his over 20 years of experience across commercial, industrial, and multifamily construction projects to serve their clients as president and CEO. Their company's motto is intentionally built, and Zach shares what this looks like day to day in their business. In our conversation, we chat about Zach's journey and how the business has developed over these last several years and lessons learned along the way. Zach truly has a heart to serve others and to help their vision come to life. The mission of Create Construction Management, to respectfully steward the time and resources entrusted to them, and to be intentional about everything they do, is evident in our conversation today. If you have a dream that you would like to pursue, I think you're going to be so inspired and encouraged by Zach's story. Thanks again for joining us today, and enjoy my conversation with Zach Piñones. I'm super excited. I am here today with my brother-in-law, Zach Piñones. Thank you so much for being here, Zach.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
This is going to be super, I think, fun just to kind of, I don't know that we've really talked a lot about your journey as an entrepreneur. And so I'm excited to learn more about your life, your journey, and kind of what's led you to where you are now. So
I'm still learning about it all too. So, it's always a little bit of a journey.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Well, just to give everyone that's listening a little bit of a background. So Zach and I really met through your sister, Maggie, who she and I went to Belhaven together, which is super fun. And then ended up becoming related through marriage, which is really fun. So Zach is married to my husband's sister, Alisa. Yeah. It's like a little confusing. And Alisa was on the podcast. I'll have to link to that back when we did kind of like a family Christmas series.
Oh,
so,
yeah, she was.
Yeah. So I'll link to that so people can kind of connect the dots. But do you want to just share kind of a brief intro of who you are and kind of your background? And then we'll jump into entrepreneurship and all things business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, so I'm from College Station, Texas. I was kind of born and raised. I guess I say College Station. I'm from Bryan, Texas.
Okay, cool.
If you're from here, there's a distinction.
Right.
But yeah, so grew up in this area, grew up in the Brazos Valley, was homeschooled during that time, went to private school before that, and then ended up going to Texas A&M University. So during my time, I guess through pretty much through my life, I don't even consider some of this, but I did just kind of grow up in just the construction industry. My dad was in it, and he'd always take those moments when we're either I'm growing up, I'm holding the pliers for him as a kid, or he's teaching me how to do something, and he'd take a moment. Hey, do you know why? And apparently some of it stuck because it kind of gave me a little bit of an edge and some knowledge that I took for granted kind of growing up. So
Yeah. And then
big
you get
thing.
into it and you're like, whoa, I actually already know more of this than I thought I did, probably. That's super
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely, absolutely good a school of hard knocks in a sense, but
Yes.
it was a lot of work, but I'm really really grateful for it. So I grew up with him, under 18 years, all that stuff. They're definitely still a big part of my life. But I went off to college. I was in the Corps Cadets at Texas A&M University.
Hmm.
Started, had no idea what I was going to study. Tried to be an engineer, then tried to go over to some more in the medical side of things. Then went back to engineering, over to psychology and business. Kind of jumped around for about 2 years,
Yeah.
and I kind of finally realized that I needed to graduate. So
Hmm.
I ended up landing and actually really enjoying economics, and so had a lot of focus in just economics, and ended up following that through to grad school,
Oh, cool.
where I got a master's degree in international economics and development with a
Hmm.
concentration on small business and entrepreneurship.
Ooh,
So
cool. I don't know if I knew all of that. I mean, I probably did at some point, but it's neat to hear you like say it again. I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, no, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I think there's that side of business, like just business, always kind of like motivated me. I mean, going back to like my dad growing up, he put me, one of his big things was, oh, you're going to learn how to work really hard so that you'll go to college and you'll go through college and get out of construction, not do any of this stuff. And so I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to get out of construction. I'm going to get out of doing that and go to college. I don't know what was going through my head. Go through college, get an easy job or something like that. But
Uh-huh.
ended up graduating from with this basically economics, finance, political science type degree and policy type degree, and then working as a superintendent for a multifamily builder
Yeah,
in town. That was the same day I graduated, the same day I married Alisa. So
that's
it
right.
was
Yeah, that was
it
a
was
beautiful day.
graduate in the morning, get married in the afternoon. I just like to stay busy, so
Yeah.
I wanted to challenge the bride for how busy we can be.
Uh-huh.
but but we so I finished all that, and basically went to work for superintendent as a superintendent. Ended up becoming more of a project manager for another company, and then eventually, when everything came to a head, and we decided that we were going to jump off, and
Hmm.
basically start a business. The opportunity was there, and we had that door open, and so we just kind of took a step forward in faith, and here we are now.
Yeah,
So
that's
still
awesome.
learning, still growing.
Yes, and y'all's wedding was so beautiful. That was a fun day, kind of outdoor.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was really nice. Anyway, side note on that. Um, so so it sounds like really what kind of prompted you to start create construction management was just sort of the opportunity presented itself and it was like, okay, let's go for it. Was there anything else that or do you remember kind of that first moment of like I could do my own thing, like I could start my own business?
Yeah, I think that was a long time. I mean, my dad owned his own business. He owned enough businesses to like fail and start over again multiple times. So
Mm-hmm.
he I kind of always saw that was there was never a limit on to me as far as being able to start, and I just kind of always felt like I could just jump off and I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can make it work. And so there was always that little seed in me, and I again wanted to get away from construction. And so ironically enough, Lord willing, he pushes me into the construction industry.
Right.
I always said I just wanted to like I did always have a passion in my heart kind of growing up just to own my own business. I just had to have a passion for it's kind of weird, but I have a passion for business and
Mm-hmm.
just the like kind of business process management, like that sort of kind of the whole how they all connect and work together to create this almost living, breathing organism in a sense was actually always entertaining me. So I just kind of said I'd like to own a business, whatever business that is, build whatever widgets it builds. And sure enough, I get pushed off into doing one with construction, and I think Alisa had a lot to do with that too.
Yeah.
I always felt empowered after with our relationship together and different things that we did together as we were progressing. And so it was something that I always wanted to do, always had kind of a desire to do, but at the same time, I pushed those feelings down for a while. I probably could have started earlier, though I don't regret any of it because some of the time that I spent not in business, I think was some of the best times for me to learn about
Yeah.
starting a business. So
Mm-hmm. That's cool.
that was cool. But for us, I think one of the biggest driving forces at the time was kind of had two opportunities. One, to continue working for somebody, but I would have to relocate because the current job I was at wasn't making any sense.
Mm-hmm.
There's some weird circumstances with how things were set up. I was, even though getting raises, started making less every 6 months. I'd come back with less than, even though they were trying their best to do more. I
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't working. So we had to switch it up and do something different. And an opportunity presented itself to basically start our own company, as well as uproot our lives and move for a very high paying job across the country.
Yeah.
And we prayed about it and decided we don't need to move across the country. And so we were terrified, but we decided we just need to take a step out in faith.
Mm-hmm.
And with, I think, about $3,000 in our bank account, we said, let's jump. And
Wow.
so we jumped.
Uh-huh.
So, and
Sometimes there's that good terrified, Like,
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that bit of like, oh, but okay, we got this. We can do this with the Lord. We got this. So yeah, that's awesome. I would love to just give you a chance to share your heart behind Create. And so the business is called Create Construction Management, and just sort of what y'all's heart is in it. Because I know you guys, but for anyone that's listening that maybe doesn't know you as well, and kind of what sets Create apart from other construction companies.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I always struggled with in construction, like kind of being someone who didn't like it in one sense, was it was always a battle, and it always felt like a battle and an argument. And some, like, there was just this element of confrontation in a sense that was brought into that industry, which, and naturally, anytime someone's jumping in and spending a large amount of money with people that they don't, quote, really know all that well,
Mm-hmm.
and investing that with them. And usually it's at a pivotal moment in people's lives, whether, so we do primarily commercial work, but whether it could be building a house or building a new business or stepping out.
That's a big moment for people.
It is. And so it's really stressful for just anyone who wants to reach out and make this jump or this transition, because it's usually a big transition in their business, in their home, in their life, and whatnot.
Right.
So there's already an element of stress, and then there's just there's a lot of investment, a lot of money, a lot of hopes and dreams that kind of ride on those things going well. So one of the things that we really wanted to do stepping out was, one, we offered design build services, which might make a little more sense in a little bit, but because our whole idea was to be intentional about every step of the process. So
yeah,
being a part of construction obviously is a big portion of what we do. I do a little bit of consulting and stuff on the side and help out through the development phase, whether it's kind of whenever people want me to get involved. I tell anyone it's never too early to kind of pull the trigger on something that you're dreaming on.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while to plan, it takes a while to set things up and to do it right. And I mean, we have some projects that haven't broken ground yet, but we've been working through them with somebody for a couple of years now, just because timing is important. When in the time of their business is appropriate. When is, especially the past few years, a lot of things have been put on,
a lot of things are in flux.
Big monkey wrench. Yeah, big monkey wrench in the middle of it. So we do our best to manage all of that, but we, at the heart of it, our slogan is intentionally built. So, and the name Create is because we wanted to help others create their vision. We wanted to be able to bring a more simplistic approach by us taking on the challenge and the burden of the process for people who don't know, the next thing about what these steps are. Hey, I owned it. They're just starting a business, or a lot of our clients are either new business owners, or most of the time we don't work with brand new businesses, but businesses that are taking a next step, or they've been leasing somewhere and now they want to build their own building, and find the property, or they want to expand. So that's usually at this expansion point. A lot of people tend to engage with us, and that seems to be the most, either that, or we engage with developers and work with them to set up where their budget is. And we basically do that budget-driven design and construction process, which is a lot of lacking sometimes, because it takes the power to tell people no, which there's a lot of power in saying no, especially, I mean, not like, no, we won't do something for you, but painting the picture and explaining why. But to do that, you really have to understand the heart behind every everything that someone wants to do and the path that they've been on, the journey they've been on, and what's brought them to that moment. Just understand their wants, their dislikes, their goals for this, and we try to write those things down early. Those are some of the questions we try to ask like before we get started,
Mm-hmm.
and just to understand what their goals are for it. Not even like what's your favorite color, but like
Yeah.
let's understand what your goals are. Like what is it? What is your passion about? Why do you start your business? Why do you do this thing? Because that helps guide in some of the services we deliver and also some of the recommendations on like, hey, you are over budget, but we got to cut back on X. So let's cut back on X, Y, and Z so that you can do A, B, and C because
Mm-hmm.
A, B, and C fulfill who you are.
Right.
And that circles back around just to being intentional. So we want to be intentional about every step of the process. We want to steward those things well. And that's really been our big heart behind what we do. I've joked to people that we just want to make construction fun again. It's already such a stressful process,
Yeah.
but it can be really cool to see things happen. And
Yes.
so we try to brand with primary colors, and sometimes I've been told by people that it looks more playful than professional. I'm like, yeah, we just want to make it fun again. Like, let's just
Uh-huh.
get back to the basics and do the basics well,
Yeah.
and and try to deliver good. So that's really our big heart behind what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
What we try to make different about it is try to reduce the stress, make it fun again, and understand that heart and that vision behind what everyone else has, so we can be of service.
Yeah, that definitely goes a long way when there's that intentionality. And also, I think that's something you do really well, Zach and Alisa too, but just kind of taking the pressure off of people and like, we're here. We can help you through this. You're not alone. Like, yeah. And it definitely makes a huge difference. And I love y'all's heart just for doing things in a way that's really word that comes to mind is ethical, but like just doing things in a way that are gonna be in line with your values and like in line with the people's values that are working with you. So I think that's awesome. Yeah. And I was thinking about, I know I've gotten to walk into a couple of the restaurants that you guys have been a part of building, and designing and constructing and all of that. And it's just so fun because, yeah, there's just a really cool, like, creative element to it and life. And it's just fun. It's neat to see something that started from just maybe a seed of an idea and then to see it develop, and grow.
Yeah, restaurants are always fun because you can always go visit them.
Yep, exactly.
Everyone needs a bite to eat. You can always go revisit some place. So yeah,
Exactly. That's
it's
so
fun.
cool. So, how would you say that Create has evolved and grown over the years? Obviously, like we were talking about, the pandemic kind of threw a wrench in everything. But
Absolutely.
yeah, kind of how has the journey of growth as a business owner looked for you?
Ooh, well, definitely still on the journey, still growing. I don't think. I think once we stop learning, then probably better pass it off to somebody. So
Yeah,
I
so
don't
true.
think I think it's always part of the creative process in any sense. Like whenever if you're learning, so we're still learning, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as how we started when we're here, I think several things have changed. I mean, one in particular was being able to navigate just changing market conditions. So I think in a sense there's multiple reasons that businesses fail, and you can go look up any Google search and find them. But a couple of them that have always standed out. I mean, one obviously cash flow, which is a whole nother just thing, but
Yeah.
product failure, all that sort of stuff. But um, the one that stands out to me that we have a lot of control over is just our ability to pivot or adapt to market conditions and what it's telling us. And I
Mm.
think that's allowed. I've definitely learned to remove myself from the equation more and more. It can get very hard to jump into something and take it on as an identity and feel like, especially say one thing goes well or you're successful in one or two projects, and then you've taken on a new project, and hey, we actually have to pivot how we're delivering the service to meet our customer needs more, or the market has changed, so we're actually having to restructure how we deliver things because there's different obstacles in front of us. For us, the simple things that's just it takes 4 times longer to get certain materials, and in a
Yeah.
sense, and how do you work that in and still control your risk while costs are going up and down and east and west and all over the place. So it's definitely been challenging, but I think the more I've learned to remove myself from the equation, to not get stuck in my own way, set in my own ways super early, and be willing to kind of die to those things that I think are great and awesome. And so there's been a couple of times where, we've said we wanted to, trying to remember exactly how to say it. Like, for one, I say design, build, construction management.
Mm-hmm.
We've used to do like architecture in house, and there's certain things that we realized we didn't do as well as we thought we could, and so we've since started partnering. I love that creative process in a sense, but having to realize that there's people who do it better than me was definitely a big identity point, and just saying, hey, I'm gonna let the guy who does it better than I do it.
That
And
says
no,
a
I'm not going
lot,
to get paid for it.
Yeah.
I'm no longer getting paid for this process because, or very, very minimal reimbursement for my time on it. But I'm also passing it off to somebody else who I am now paying to do that. And so it's just been a different evolution of how we've gone through those processes and how we set up, I guess, different just in ways we manage employees. I think that's another thing to that I've had to learn and grow in is that type of structure and how to set things up. I've always had a very direct mentality on just how I wanted to structure a business, and some of those things have tweaked as we've been growing to know where, again, there are certain things that as a business owner, I need to be a business owner and manager rather than doing it. I heard it said, this kind of summary of that statement was, somebody told me while I was going through this about that it's, if you can get like 5 people to do it 80% as good as you think you can do it, you're still doing like 4 times as much as you would have been doing. Your production is still about 3 times higher than what you would have done.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Because we always, especially when you're like, I'm the only one that can do it as good as I can do it. Yeah.
Right.
But it holds you back then.
And it holds you back, and you got to realize that there's opportunities to, again, to just kind of put yourself aside and put the best interest of your people, your clients, and the business at heart, and kind of to move it forward. So that's been probably the biggest thing as I've been growing through it. Is it's not just a business growth, but as we've been growing business wise, growing personally as well, and seeing myself step apart from that. So
wow. Well said. That's so good. I'm curious just to hear from you. How have you seen God's provision kind of throughout this whole journey of starting a business and sustaining a business? Any fun stories you want to share?
Oh, so many. There have been so many little stories, and I probably won't do it enough justice for God's faithfulness through this process. But in point, like it started with one that we stepped out on a project, and I don't know. Sometimes people can understand how much it costs to operate and function a business, especially one like, in construction we deal with, and there's other businesses that are similar. You deal with certain dollar signs that you don't really anticipate working with sometimes, and
if any of us have watched HGTV,
right.
all the hidden
like,
costs that come up.
all the hidden costs, and they always have a couple extra zeros on the end.
Exactly.
And it just makes you think, oh wow, that's a lot of money. Oh, and you need it now. Okay, well, to keep the business moving, you have to do that. And we started it out with like $3,000 in our bank, so it wasn't anything glorified. We stepped out and said, maybe we'll make it. And it took a lot of work. I was doing a lot of work myself at that time, and then we picked up several projects that were in the millions of dollars in gross project value, and within the first couple months, and realized, how are we going to manage this? How is this gonna how can we even deal with this? And one, we're praying through it, wondering if we need to go take out a loan, go do something, and get that startup capital. And So right at the beginning, one of the clients, I guess it was just end of the year, we were supposed to start the project like January.
Yeah.
And so I guess they were a much larger company, and they just called me and said, "Hey, we want you to bill us for everything that you can." I'm like, I haven't even started the job yet.
Mm.
And they're like, "Well, just bill us for everything that you can, just all the materials and stuff." Because I guess they wanted to expense it on their reports,
Okay. Yeah.
something. And they cut us a check the day before like the project started, and gave us enough money to cash flow through the entire job.
Wow.
And so that was pretty miraculous, something that you don't really anticipate.
Right. No.
We were there sitting like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? And hey, here comes a 6-figure check that someone just deposits for you.
That's incredible.
So that was pretty miraculous. We also had a lot of existing relationships. I've got to give credit where it's due, but we probably would have started out, and while we were still figuring things out, we had some good people come alongside us and try to help. They wanted to and kind of invest and pour into it, and they kind of helped us and were really big encouragement along the way
Mm-hmm.
to kind of get started. And so
I think community is huge for sure.
the community is huge, and so we really appreciate them. I mean, it was a godsend that they walked alongside us through this. And at the end, when we kind of parted ways, he was like, "I just wish you the best. Really appreciate you and happy to see you succeed." So
Hmm.
I really have a lot of respect for them, and wish them all the best. So
Yeah.
that was a good, like you said, the community and people around you that helped us out a lot. And God just sending the manna from heaven whenever we needed it,
Right.
right before we needed it. I'm not sure how we were gonna order doors for this
Yeah.
project or something like that. So that those were a couple of them. I mean, he's been faithful on so many other occasions. Those are just a few, like right when we started, that were pretty miraculous in a sense to help
Mm-hmm.
us get our feet off the ground and whatnot. So
Yeah. Those are so
yeah,
good.
it's been a good.
Yeah. That's awesome. So thinking of people listening, and I'm sure there's somebody listening that has this a dream or a vision, something that they feel like, God is calling them to step out in faith and start this thing. Do you have any advice that you would want to give?
If I could pick one thing, there's so many different little things. It's like,
Yeah.
but I think it's especially being a believer. If God's impressed something on your heart to do it, I think it does take courage. But if it's been impressed there, I say definitely go for it. And then again, seek out the people that are around you for wisdom and advice. That's one thing I think. Just in saying a few of those comments, is you can't go at it alone.
Mm-hmm.
It always takes somebody somebody beside you to believe in you and kind of build you up. But you can't just sit there and wait for it. Sometimes you got to go actually just talk about your dreams. Don't have I think having the courage to just start talking about it and start planning for it
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
is awesome. Like, instead of watching a TV show one night, just go sit there and work on a business plan. The one story that's always led me, I guess, as far as business, I applied it to business in a sense, but it's just David and Goliath, and it's not about fighting Goliath. It was about the time in the pasture, herding, tending the sheep. That's
Mm.
when, I can't imagine David just sitting there. He would sit there and read, recite Psalms, and he had to be practicing with that sling. And then he
Yeah.
gets, he gets. I mean, there's even quotes. He gets some practice. He takes down a lion and a bear. I mean, he's apparently pretty proficient. Has got some confidence behind him, and
Mm-hmm.
seeing those small successes, that when the opportunity came, he was ready. And
Mm.
so being ready for the opportunity, success is rarely just about someone winning the lottery. And most people that do end up going broke.
Right.
So it's about where preparation meets opportunity. So whether that opportunity has come along for anybody, I can't say if it's the right moment right now to jump off and do it, but I can say any moment is the moment to start preparing for it. And
Mm.
so taking that time now, whether it's whatever that means, but starting to get stuff in order, start to practice, starting to do that. That will really be a positive step in the right direction. So that when you see when the opportunity comes along, one, you'll even recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, you'll be empowered to take it as well. So
yes, I love that. That was so good. So, and kind of similar lines, I guess, along similar lines, just from your experience as an entrepreneur, I guess any of the biggest challenges, and also on the flip side, maybe some of the most like rewarding parts that you've seen it being an entrepreneur. Sorry, I feel like I like botched that question.
No. I'm tracking.
Cool.
I think some of the biggest challenges is it does. My dad always joked about this when we were growing up, and about basically owning a business. They always called it like another child.
Yeah.
There was my sister, me, and then whatever business he was in, it was another child. And so it's just, and it takes until like now for me to really understand it, but it is a part of the family. It's part of, there's, I think one of the biggest, and if anybody has wisdom for me, hopefully I'll be sorting that out soon, but there's an element of being willing to take that jump, because some of the differences between family life work, that it kind of becomes part of your work. Like I was saying before, it can be wrapped up really easily in what your identity is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think one of the biggest challenges is how to navigate that piece, because it's basically going to happen that it becomes part of whatever that identity is that you fall into. That it's another member of the family. It's something else that needs to be, you need to feed it, change its diaper, and take care of it. Like it's going to cost money to do it. Like everyone thinks that you just make money in business, but most of it stays in the business in order to keep the business going.
Right.
So it's definitely another member that has to be cared for in a sense. And so I think to that degree that does become a challenge to anybody.
Yeah, for sure.
And as far as excitement and successes, I mean, just like having another relationship, seen something succeed, seeing something grow in front of you, grow up to be what it can be. There's a lot of pride, which can be another downfall, but there can be a lot of pride, and just like it can be a lot of joy just seeing this thing succeed, that was built by, maybe it's you and your spouse, or you and you by yourself, or you with this community around you. Again, it's always going to take somebody around you to help out. You cannot do it alone. But
I think there's sort of like a healthy pride seeing that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just being a healthy pride in it. And I feel like it's like watching a kid win a soccer game when you go, do a project well and be like, hey, we did it, team. We did it. And
good to celebrate those victories for sure.
It is pretty good. And so I think that's there's always some good and bad that comes with everything. There's all the little things. They say you get a lot of free time, but you also lose all your time. So it's, there's this give and take, but you can't qualify it. And so I'm not going to tell anybody to expect one thing or another. Just expect it all, because you're going to have the times where the times that are slow are the times that I'm probably most stressed out. And the times that are fast, I'm still just trying to figure it all out sometimes. So how do we do it? But worse problems to have.
For sure.
But yeah, there's a big success to it. And just it's very rewarding to see things go well, for us, to see our clients and their projects getting built, to see them move into a space and still be there, and see, gratitude and success for them years later because of something that they moved into, and got to see them grow. And in our line of work, you're with somebody for such an extended period of time, again, in such a stressful situation with so much investment, all this, that it is really hard to not see them as another friend. And so I've been very grateful to all the relationships that we've developed in the process. And so that's been very, very rewarding. Yeah,
for sure. That's very true, that it tends to be in those like high intensity situations and circumstances that you build like some of the strongest relationships, so I could see that for sure. Building some friendships out of it. So as we're kind of wrapping up here, there's usually a few questions that I ask, and I'm going to kind of tailor it a little different for today. So usually I ask, is there a word of encouragement that you'd like to share with other artists right now? And that would be awesome too, if you want to do that. But also you could aim it more towards like entrepreneurs in general, or both. That'd be cool.
Well, I think there's a bit of artistry to just about anything that we do.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I think there's at some point, even market wise, sometimes we devalue artists too much. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of value, I guess, as far as artists, there's a lot of value in seeing things for, what they could be, not necessarily for what they are sometimes, and being able to see those, um, kind of understand the meaning behind some things. And I think a lot of our artists possess that capacity. And I see it in some of our architects and our designers
Oh,
that
cool.
try to capture a picture of things that, either one, it's a property as we feel like looking at it, that it is a way that it is intended to be. We really strive for kind of high quality architecture in
Hmm.
that sense.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, being able to see it come to life, after a lot of work, a lot of work and planning. And so,
There's a lot of craftsmanship that goes into that too.
a lot
Yeah.
of craftsmanship. And so, I think just being encouraged that there's people that aren't artists too that see all the beauty in these things. And so, as even just a contractor working alongside people who do who do design work, who try to see through it and build something that stands the test of time, captures in essence, it always has a statement behind it. And so we really enjoy that. And it's a beauty that's hard to qualify or state it, but it's always noticed. So
Yes. That's awesome. I love that. Well put for sure. And one question I love to ask everyone that comes on the show just for fun is what is one of your favorite things right now?
my favorite things.
Yeah.
Oh, sleep. It's probably like a great one right now. We
Yes.
have three little kids and a growing business, and it's
Yeah.
few and far between. But at the same time, it's been a joy just to get a day of rest sometimes, and we try to be with us. It's hard for Lisa and I, but we do try to keep a restful day on the Sabbath. That's one of my favorite things right now. But
That's awesome.
other than that, I don't know. I just feel like my head's down a whole lot. So
Yeah. Yeah. And y'all have such a beautiful family. Little nieces and
no,
nephew,
thank
they're the best.
you.
They're so precious. And I'm sure
Yep,
it's probably
you
fun for them to see you guys pursuing a dream, and going after that together.
absolutely, absolutely. Yep, one of them shares your birthday,
Yeah,
so
birthday buddy. Exactly.
Felicity.
Yes, sweet Felicity. So much fun. Well, I would love to let people know kind of how they can connect with you and with Create
Mhm.
Construction Management. And obviously your work is probably pretty local-ish to like that Bryan College Station area, but I guess how
Mhm.
far out do you guys work?
We're currently looking at projects, so I would say the extent right now is really within that little triangle of Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston.
Cool.
We've got larger project in Houston, and one that we hopefully be, signing up in San Antonio here pretty soon, and then still looking at a couple more, kind of all over that little area. We're in College Station, Texas, so
Yeah.
it's actually pretty close to most of those, as close as you can get with a centralized location to a lot of these metroplexes. So
Yeah, that works out really
definitely,
nicely, actually. Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely put us, centrally. And so, I mean, to be able to get in touch with us, you can find more information on our website. Is just createcm.com, as in createconstructionmanagement.com.
Perfect.
That also be changing to intentionallybuilt.com. I think even you can look at intentionally built. It's one of the tags for Instagram and Facebook. So
Cool. Love it.
yeah.
Yes. That'll be great. Well, this has been super awesome. And I think you're like the perfect way. We're wrapping up our sort of entrepreneurship series this week. So this is the perfect way to kind of put a bow on that. And thank you for just being honest with your experience and also just sharing so much valuable knowledge and wisdom with everybody today. So I appreciate you, not just because you're family, but because you're an awesome human as well. So thank you for doing this.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
God bless.
I'm so grateful for that time with Zach and just all of the wisdom that he gave through that conversation. I loved in particular the part where he talked about having the courage to go ahead and just start talking about your dreams and to begin preparing today so that we're ready when opportunity comes. I invite you to connect with Zach and Create Construction Management on social media and on their website. You can find all of the links, the full show notes, and additional resources on our website, creativeimpactpodcast.com. If you have been enjoying the podcast, I invite you to subscribe wherever you are listening. And also, if you would be willing to rate and review the show, that is such a huge help. And it gets the word out about the show to more people. You can also support the show by joining our Patreon community. So if you're not familiar with Patreon, it is basically a platform where you can support the show with monthly donations and get bonus content in return. You can learn more at creativeimpactpodcast.com/Patreon. And that's spelled Patreon. Well, it's been so much fun doing this Entrepreneurship and Pursuing a Vision mini-series. I hope it's been helpful for you. And I would love to hear from you if you wanted to send a quick message on Instagram or Facebook at Creative Impact Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. The music for the show was produced by Michael Cash. Until next time, remember that you were designed to create. You were made to inspire. Continue living with purpose and making an impact. See you next time, friends.